Welcome to the Odd Life Podcast. That's AWED, which stands for Awake, Well, and Empowered. We're here to have conversations to inspire women of all ages to live odd AF. So thank you for joining me. Let's dig in. Hello, everyone. How are you? I'm back from Panama. By the time you hear or see this, it's probably been a couple of weeks since I've been back, but I do want to share about the trip, some ahas, some disappointments, everything in between. And I want to share it because I think there are others probably out there that are nervous about doing something like this. And two, I want to talk about things not going according to plan. And I'll get into that here in a second, but let's just start from the top. So this is story time. If you're a normal listener to the podcast, you know I like to tell stories. Then I wrap it up with kind of the life lesson at the end that I've had. And this is no different. So grab your cup of coffee, your tea, or if you're driving, keep that seatbelt on nice and tight. And here we go. So the first thing is I'm flying out of Denver because I'm living here now at the end of all this, it's going to be about 2.5 months. And I explained all this a few episodes ago, but we're here to be close to our boys that are playing baseball just 45 minutes away. We did a lot of travel back and forth over the last 3 years, every weekend to come watch our older son play. And now that they're both here and we're empty nesters, we are doing something different this time. So we're here in Colorado. So I'm flying out of Denver and my connection's in Atlanta. And they've only given me an hour to make that connection. So I'm a little nervous. Well, sure enough, the plane coming into Denver that we need to get on is late and we are slow getting out. We had this poor woman that broke her hip skiing. The reason I know that is because I asked her. And then when you have something like that, it takes a little longer to get on the plane and get everybody loaded and ready to go. So we had a gentleman that had come off the plane, same thing, a young kid in a wheelchair with crutches. So we had him coming and going. And then there was weather that was happening in the south and they had to give us a different route. So we had to come in a little bit more from the north. So a little more of a circumvent route than a straight arrow, again, delaying my landing. So I land, my flight's supposed to take off at 4:25. I land like at 4:05. My daughter had a recent experience where she was connecting and they held the plane for her. And I'm thinking, okay, surely they know I'm landing. This is a plane to Panama. It's not like I'm hopping to the next state over. I'm hoping that they're going to be hanging out there at the door waiting for me. And of course, which I'm really glad I did this, I did a carry-on luggage only because I didn't want to have a situation where if I didn't make that connection, my luggage is now gone to Panama and I'm hanging out with nothing. I get to the gate after huffing and puffing and wheeling my little suitcase. Of course, I landed in Terminal B and I had to go to E. And if you've ever been to Atlanta Airport, it's an underground tram, so you've got to get down there and it's the last stop, of course, for other than the next one. So I get there and doors are closed. Plane is left. And I look at my phone and I have the Delta app on my phone. And it tells me that they left 5 minutes early. They pulled out at 4:20 from the gate. Oh, talk about a kick to the gut. Like not only did they not wait for me, they left early. So that's fun. So now I have got to go to the desk and ask about getting another flight. My option through Delta was the next morning at 9:30. Other options we were looking into were flying out at 7:30 that evening to go to New York, landing at 10:30. And then I'd get on a flight at 2:30 from New York and fly down and get in Panama at 6:30. The only reason why I would even remotely consider that was because I'm supposed to be on a bus at 8:30 in the morning with the other attendees to this women's retreat, which I really wanted to do. I wanted to be on the bus with everybody else and have the same experience as everybody else. So I decided it was not worth it because I would have zero sleep. So I just stuck to the original plan. They gave me a hotel, a couple free meal vouchers, found a hotel nearby, right by the airport, and I'm leaving at 9:30 in the morning from Atlanta and landing in Panama and then hopping on a private shuttle, which is going to cost me an arm and a leg. And this trip already for me felt like a lot. A trip to Panama is not cheap. My airline ticket was most I've ever spent, ever. So there's a lot of, I'm not a person that's like penny pincher at all, but I also look at the value of things. And I'm like, I really hope this is worth it because I'm paying out the nose for everything at this point. So then that sinks in. I've missed my flight. I'm missing the bus with everybody. And I have a solo car ride for 6 hours with a stranger that I'm paying a lot of money for. It's 8:30. I'm exhausted. I'm ready to go to bed, wake up to a brand new day. So I'm laying there, going to go to bed. And I shit you not. There's a green flash outside my window and then another one. And then all of a sudden, zzz, and then lights go out in the hotel. Power is now out. The transformer blew right outside my window. I'm like, laying there, you gotta be kidding me. So I'm thinking of the AC. I'm thinking, how am I going to get ready? Did I charge my phone? I got to make sure I've got an alarm going off. Thank God I just had gotten done charging my phone. It was full. So I did have plenty of juice. I text my family. I'm like, you're not going to believe this. Power just went out. The fire engines came eventually. They came and went. Nothing's happening. So no one really knows what the hell's going on. And then eventually I see some lights and I see the flashlight go up onto the wires. A branch had blown off one of the trees and landed on the power lines, and that's what knocked the power out. So my daughter calls me. She's like, hey, are you doing okay? I'm like, I'm not okay. Everything that could have gone wrong today has gone wrong. Missed my connection. I am now leaving tomorrow. I'm paying a shit ton of money for this travel, and the power has gone out. And then it just doesn't stop because there's weather coming from the west. It had blown through Mississippi, and they had gotten tornadoes. So here I am now on a tornado watch that's not going to hit till after midnight. So what I ended up doing, I ended up repacking my suitcase, having it all ready to go, and I slept in all my clothes, even my tennis shoes, because if it happened to hit and I needed to get up and find shelter, I wanted to have my shoes on, clothes on. I didn't want to be in my PJs. I even slept in my contacts. That's how desperate I was. So yeah, that was my first day, ready to go. So excited. And then boom, 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 just taking hits to the jaw. Couple to the gut. However, the next day I got up. I'm like, hey, it's a brand new day. I'm now headed to Panama. Yesterday was a wash. Done. Life doesn't go as we want it to all the time. So I get to Panama. My driver's there. His name is Kevin, which I laughed at first because I thought that's for sure your real name. He's like, no, it actually really is. So we laughed about that. We got into that story later, but he was so nice. 33-year-old young man, his 2 kids. He gave me a tour basically. So we're driving and I'm getting the history of the Panama Canal and I'm getting the story behind these famous buildings in town and this historic area that I was supposed to stay in the night before and I didn't. And that's another thing that's super fun is they need a 48-hour notice to cancel your hotel. So I paid for a hotel room I didn't stay the night in. So again, cha-ching. So I get a tour. We're talking. Next thing you know, I'm asking the young man some questions. He's telling me his life story. Like I hear it all. But I asked him. It wasn't like he was just telling me for the hell of it. I asked him questions. So yeah, we bonded. Kevin and I are besties. He said he's on Instagram and I have not yet found him, but he taught himself English. He taught himself how to play 6 different instruments. He's named Kevin because of Kevin Costner. His dad's a favorite actor because of the movie Dances with Wolves. Dances with Wolves is one of my favorite movies. I love the Native American culture. I got into my whole belief system about reincarnation. We went there, guys. We went there. His dad was an alcoholic. He had a crazy home life story. So we had a lot to talk about. We had 6 hours to do it. And Kevin was so nice. So nice. So I pull in at 9 o'clock that night. Katie, I texted her, let her know I was there. She came and gave me a big hug. It was great. It felt weird because no one was there hanging out. They all had dinner together. And the whole resort, when you're there on a retreat, is just your people. There's no outside guests. So I knew that everybody there I'm going to eventually meet. And I did see my roommate. I had a bunkmate, basically. She walked by. She was leaving dinner, and I gave her a big hug and nice to meet you, and I'll see you here in a little bit. So that was my first night getting there. And then the next day, breakfast is the first thing in the morning if you want. Go for a walk on the beach. I was up like at 5 o'clock in the morning, I think 5:30. So I went down for a walk on the beach, had some breakfast, and we had our yoga session, meditation session. I made an opening circle. And that was great because we got a chance to hear everyone's story about what they're bringing into the shala. They call the area that we had yoga, and every day is this open air hut that we had. And who's coming into the shala beginning of this week. And there's a lot of people talking about fear and not knowing themselves and feeling stuck and grief. We had some people that had lost loved ones recently. Everyone had different things. But at the same time, everybody was carrying something really heavy. coming in to the shala. What I had shared, I believe, and sometimes you kind of black out when you talk in front of people, but I believe the things I was talking about letting go were the former me, the one that is ready to become my full self and to live the life I meant to live. I know a week of yoga and meditation is not going to unlock her completely, but I think being in a space where you can show up authentically and speak out loud the things that are holding you back is really powerful. And then after that, we learned how to surf. There was a surf company that came and they have a surfboard laying on the ground and they taught you how to put your hands down, the flow of getting up, which it's almost like a half down dog. You put one foot, then the next foot, and then you're up. It's literally like 3 steps. Hands at your chest, you push up, step, and you're up. And it felt too easy on dry land. Let's put it that way. And then we had the rest of the day to hang out and do our thing. There were activities along the way. You could get massages, treatments, things like that at the spa. You could sign up for a waterfall hike, going to see tide pools. There was a horseback riding on the beach. There was a sunset cruise, that kind of stuff. And I decided that, well, I think that the missing the bus and paying for my own shuttle decided a little bit for me, but I wanted to just relax and chill. I did not want to overschedule myself. I wanted to soak up the energy there and be amongst other women and let come what needs to come, you know? So I did do the surfing the next day. And that was a huge, huge thing for me. I was determined. No one in my family thinks I was ever athletic based on how they see me today, which sucks because I haven't done a whole lot lately. I need to get back into that. I feel like I was an athlete as a kid. I wasn't great. Like I peaked volleyball like in 8th grade, but I love sports. I'm competitive. I'm maybe an athlete's heart, maybe not the coordination per se. And I wanted to prove my family wrong. Like she does have athletic ability. Let me show you. You didn't get it all from your father. There was another retreat member with me, Marjorie. And Marjorie and I were both talking about how we were both nervous about the water. We're not super comfortable in it. So at least I had a partner in the way I felt. And then we have our instructor, Ricardo. And Ricardo was a bit of a hard ass. There was zero empathy from Ricardo. He was like, I told you to do this, and you'll stand up. Okay. Well, when you try and get up, like you have to turn the board flat, you got to get on, and you have to, the right timing, you have to paddle, and then it's boom, 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 you're up. And if you don't do it in one fluid motion, you get wobbly and then you fall off. And the first time I was trying to get up, it's like my mind went completely blank. I did not remember one step. Of course, go back and try it again. And eventually, my friends, this girl got up on 2 feet and rode a wave. I went straight towards the beach. It wasn't like I did any turns, but I got up and I balanced and I stayed up. And then they teach you to fall backwards because you're in shallow water. We're only at waist deep when we're getting on the board anyway. Super easy waves, nothing crazy. But then when I got that first one, watch out. Because then I was like, okay, next, let's go. And Marjorie and I were both the same. Like we were super determined to get the next wave. And she got up and we were, air high-fiving and cheering for each other. It was so cool. So cool. And we had 2 other instructors, so they had little groups, and we were watching each other down the waves. And it just was so cool to see women get up and try something new they've never done before. So it was such a bonding experience for a lot of us too. It was awesome. And then I spent Wednesday, Thursday, Friday kind of doing nothing. But I want to explain something that happened that was initially a bad thing for me. It felt really icky. And then it turned into something that was actually really great. So I want to explain this. Every night we have dinner together. So breakfast and lunch, it's kind of come when you want to, around your schedule. And most of the time, there's always someone there to hang out with. And dinners, however, were a big sit down. All of us sit down and our host, he presents the menu. He presents what the signature cocktail is that night, which they always make a mocktail version of that, which is so nice. A lot of the women on this trip were people that were sober curious. So that was so nice. So I'm sitting down. A retreat leader asks a question she wants us to discuss at dinner. And I gave my answer. And my answer was almost rebuked as if it was the wrong answer. And that threw me for a loop because then somebody else said almost the same thing I said, but in a different way. And they were completely agreed with. And I was like, wow, okay, interesting. And I sat there, and then 2 people on the left-hand side of me got into conversation, and the other 2 got into conversation. So here I'm at the end of the table by myself. Like I'm not talking to anybody. And I felt rejection in that moment. to say the least. And it wasn't what I expected coming in, because the indication was I was going to connect with people. And here I am now by myself through no fault of my own, I don't think. I participated in the conversation. I said something that I felt vulnerable in what I was truly feeling. And I think the question was, what is something you would tell your younger self? And I believe the thing that I said was that you're not broken. You don't need to be fixed. Stop trying to fix yourself. And that, for some reason, it got shunned. And it was pretty apparent. And I was almost in shock a little bit. It's not what I expected. And then to turn away from me completely, I just sat there like, wow, okay, not how I thought the week was going to start. And I ended up getting up from the table. I mean, dinner was over. We'd finished all of our food, but I was basically quiet from then on. I hardly said a word, because in that situation, you then don't feel like people want to hear you. It felt very isolating, and it just was an interesting feeling. Not what I expected. And so I got up and I walked out of the beach, and I sat on a beach chair and I looked at the stars, had myself a couple good cries, and I stayed there for as long as I possibly could. I wanted to see a shooting star, and I did not, but I did see the Milky Way, which was really cool. And I went back to my room. I was able to sneak in and go to bed. And the next day we were supposed to have a sunrise meditation, and I kind of said, fuck that. I got up and went for a walk before the sun came up, went all the way down the beach, and I sat on a piece of driftwood by myself watching the sun come up, which I needed. I was not in a good headspace at all. Not at all what I expected going on this retreat. Came back. The yoga was different that morning. Somebody was being led by somebody else. And so it was a different kind of yoga. And I just didn't feel like it was in my wheelhouse that day. A little more power yoga. And I just don't think I had it in me, even though I probably should have, just to work it out a little bit. I just went for a really, really long walk. And in that long walk, this is what I came up with. I ended up coaching myself on this walk. I was down on myself the night before. I was telling myself all these stories, right? That, see what happens when you put yourself out there? See what happens? You get rejected. Again, people don't get you. And fuck, why is this so fucking hard? Why is it so hard to get connection? I walked all the way down and I went all the way the other direction. I think it was probably about a good 2-hour walk. By the time I got to the end of that walk, I ended up with the thought, you know what? If they don't get me, then they're not meant to. If they can understand the thing that I said, they're not meant to. And they're not my people. Stop trying to be with people that don't get you. End of story. That's it. This is what happens a lot when I journal. If I'm struggling with something, I tend to ask myself a question and then answer it as if I'm coaching myself. And I did that on my walk. It was a little bit of that let them theory, but also kind of a fuck them theory. If they can't see how I'm showing up here with this huge heart and putting myself out there, if they can't see that in me, then maybe a little fuck them. That's where I went with it. And as soon as I hit that moment, I was so liberated. I was like, oh my God, this is the power right here. I had told myself for years that I'm unlovable. I'm unworthy of people's attention. People don't see me. I'm invisible. I did share in a podcast not too long ago about this. It's all this shit I've told myself. And when it happens to me, I'm like, see, there's more proof. And I did that night. See, more proof. I'm forgettable. No one gives a shit about me. No one wants to hear a thing I have to say. I'm not important to anybody. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. And that was the story I've been telling myself for many, many, many years. And it was on that walk. And I'm like, why do you care about it? Being friends with somebody that treats people like that? Fuck that. Fuck that. And that changed my whole week. It wasn't what I expected, but that disappointment turned into a huge turning point for me. I let that rejection completely slide off my shoulders within 24 hours. And then I was like, I could care less about that individual. I could care less what they think of me. Because now I think I've seen their true colors. If I'm so easily dismissed, then they're not somebody I want to be with. Just like the beginning of the week. It wasn't like the end of the week where they've had enough of my shit or they've heard me the whole week and they're like, she's not my people. It's just the beginning of the week. In that situation, I went the opposite of what I thought was going to happen. And I decided that actually I needed that to happen. And I did notice the rest of the week how this person was treating other people. And it wasn't just me. I think I saw really what was going on. And it took me doing some major work for 24 hours to get to that point. maybe for 12 hours. It was that morning walk. So it wasn't the whole next day. But then a couple days later, talking at dinner with a different group of people, and we had to talk about our highs and lows. And I said my low was this one evening, and I explained it in very general terms. And then I said my high was that I gained so much confidence in myself because of it, and realized that says more about that person than it does about me. And somebody that I was having dinner with that night said, you know what? I saw that happen. And I'm sorry you had to go through that. It wasn't fair and it wasn't right. And nothing that you said warranted that reaction. And that to me meant a lot, because it wasn't me reading into something. It wasn't me trying to create drama. So it validated a little bit of my feelings. I didn't want to bring up anything specific or name anybody, but it wasn't just apparent to me. So I ended up not having the experience I expected while I was there, but also so many great things happened. I met so many wonderful women. I've learned about my friend Marjorie. She has a corporate job, but then she does art on the side, and her art is fantastic. Like fantastic. She does abstract art, and it's like she whips out the craziest, coolest shit. My friend Mallory, her and I are basically the same person, but she is starting her journey that I went through a few years ago. We've had some of the same experiences, kind of wild. My roommate, Sarah, she's amazing. She's my age. She's a doctor of Chinese medicine and acupuncture, functional medicine practitioner, yoga instructor. Super cool. I mean, big heart. She gave me some great advice how to try and earn more money this year. Had some great conversations at night. And she was a great roommate. Gosh, I talked to Marie. Marie is 70 something years old, and she lost her daughter last year. This week was the anniversary of her death, and she did not want to be home alone. And I remember telling her after dinner, I said, I am so proud of you for doing this, but also sort of enamored with you because you're traveling and doing all these things at your age that a lot of other people don't do. And got to hear her story. She was a school counselor for years, and she fought for the underprivileged, and that was her goal. And she just was the coolest ever. So sweet and so nice and so big hearted. Just wowed by her story. And then I sat next to Nicole one night, and Nicole told me about her story and what she does for work, and loved Nicole. Nicole was like she was the spark plug of the group. She's got this great Jersey accent. She was there because her best friend had passed away, and she came as support for her best friend's older sister that was coming on the retreat. So she was going through a tough time. She was grieving, and she was the coolest. She brought her camera, took amazing pictures. She was so kind and so sweet. I mean, I've got a ton of these stories. I met so many amazing women when I was there. I met Darcy. Darcy and I had a moment together. I kind of took a nosedive into her lap after her meditation because she asked Katie about trauma, if it's harder for people that go through trauma to meditate. And ironically, that meditation session, for some reason, I pictured my younger self, like 8, 9 years old. That scared little girl that didn't know love, that was ignored, shunned, told to be quiet, felt like I was a pain in everyone's ass rather than loved and cared for. And I pictured her sitting in front of me in the meditation session. And this meditation session is like dead quiet, no music, no nothing, just you and your own breath. And we're sitting in a circle. But for some reason, I pictured my younger self. And I said to her in my mind, like, this is for you. You are loved. And I love you. Hold my hands. And feel my love for you. And so I pictured her sitting crisscross applesauce across from me, holding my hands. And I just opened my heart. And I pictured her heart being open to receive what I had to give her. Because I carry that little girl with me a lot. And I wanted her to feel the love that I felt for myself in that moment. Like, you are loved. I've got you. And I just try to keep my heart open and just flood her with love in that moment. And so when Darcy asked that question afterwards, I told her that I'd never done that before. I grabbed her hand and I said, I need to tell you this. And you said something about trauma. This is what I just did for the first time ever. Because I needed that little girl in me to know that there's love in the world. And that I love her. And then Darcy cried with me. Again, this is like day 2 that morning. So Darcy and I had a moment together, and we realized some of our super curious stories are similar. And that bonded us in that moment. She shared a lot with me. Darcy and I connected a couple times on walks, which was great. And we didn't plan it. If you went for a walk and someone was out there, you were walking with them. But that's just a handful of things and experiences and conversations I've had. So the people that were there with me were who I needed to meet. The people I expected to connect to, I didn't. And here I am connecting with Marie. She could be my mother. And I absolutely blown away by her story and how she shows up in her life. And she's just amazing. And didn't expect to connect with her because I didn't know what we had in common. And we talked about our love for Carolyn Mace, some of the beliefs that we have around that, and unexpected, wonderful conversation. Then the bus ride back to Panama City, sat next to Darcy for a little bit, talked to her again about podcast stuff, learned all the things she's got going on. She's amazing. Got to Panama, said our goodbyes to people that were flying out that evening. And the people that were going to stay that night, we were going to connect, and ended up going to dinner with some women, a couple that I hadn't had a chance to really talk to a whole lot. And again, had more great conversation. So fun. And my friend Crystal, I told her this, and I hope I don't say offend her, but she talked like Amy Schumer. Her voice sounded like her demeanor, her mannerisms. And I just wanted to be around her because she was just bubbly and so sweet and so nice. She's 33 years old. I could be her damn mother. She was the kindest, sweetest soul. And I'm so grateful for that opportunity and that experience and saying yes to going, because now I get to have the front row to see all the magic that's going to happen with these women in their lives, what they've taken from the week, and the power of, I don't know, how do you explain it? We just saw each other. We opened our hearts, opened our minds, our souls, told a lot of things that were pretty heartfelt. People that needed to, people that wanted to, saw and heard us. And I get to take that now with me forever. And I now get to witness all the great things that are going to happen for them going forward. And that time spent together was so, so special. And so what I walked away with this was, yes, a lot of disappointment. Whether it's the travel snafus that I had, to the expectations I had about certain people and the rejection I got, to my aha and go, you know what? You've got you. And if they don't get you, fuck them. That's kind of what I went with it. And I know I'm not for everybody. It is what it is. I don't know. I don't know what the hang up is. But at this point, I don't care. I want to be around people that see me, that hear me, and are still there for me. I'm not an aesthetic. I'm rough around the edges, and the people that are meant for me will get that and will be all for it. And that's who I need to be seeking in my life. So that was a big aha. That was the biggest lesson I walked away from, was I will not be for everybody, and everybody's not for me. My husband, I used to give him a lot of shit about him always wanting everyone to like him all the time, and he would see the best in everybody, which sometimes they didn't deserve it, honestly, because he didn't want to be left out. But I kind of did that during my week in Panama. I was wanting to be liked by everybody. So I wanted to walk away with 23 best friends. And that's not reality. And I needed to let go of that expectation and walk away with people that truly see me, that truly hear me, and still love me anyway. And I hope I did the same for many of those women too. I know what it feels like to be rejected, to feel alone, to not have a lot of friendships. And for me, I want people to feel heard and seen and cared for, taking the extra step to help somebody when they're struggling, because it sucks to struggle alone. And I know what that feels like. And I don't want anybody else to feel like I feel. So that was my week in Panama. If you're thinking about doing some type of retreat, I know it can be big and scary and weird and feel awkward. You're going to be with all these strangers, but it's kind of a week to really process through some of that stuff. You may feel rejected. You may feel excluded. But the biggest thing, I think, when you go to that kind of retreat, is that you get to walk away knowing yourself more, feeling closer to who you truly are, and learning to love yourself more because you took the time and the effort and the strength to show up in this way and be vulnerable. And you get to look yourself in the eye and say, I'm proud of you. You did this hard thing. I love you so much. Let's keep going. I mean, if nothing else happens, if you walk away with 0 friendships, you are closer to yourself. You are proud of yourself for doing this hard thing. You maybe got to see something beautiful, maybe the beach that you're on, or you're in a maybe wooded area and you saw some amazing, gorgeous things. You got time to yourself. Maybe you're a busy mom and you don't ever take time for yourself. You got to do that at least. You said yes to yourself and you showed yourself some love, which honestly, so many of us don't do on a daily basis. Absolutely do not do. We ignore ourselves. We don't take care of ourselves. We don't get enough sleep. We tell ourselves really shitty stories about ourselves. And in that moment, on that retreat, you get to do the opposite. I'm not here to say retreats are perfect. They're the best thing in the world. Goes according to plan. It does not. It does not. But you may get an unexpected gift, and that will be worth it all. Shout out to all my girls from Panama. You all impacted me so much because of you that it was special. You brought your whole heart and your soul. You were vulnerable. And you let me see that. And I just am so honored and grateful for those conversations. And I'll never forget it. I love you all. I hope you're doing fantastic. And I hope that you are showing yourself the kind of love that you showed yourself in Panama. Keep going. Keep going. I'm cheering you on. Oh my gosh, that's the episode. Holy moly. Do the thing. Go to the retreat. Be disappointed because you never know what gift you're going to get out of that. I promise. Shout out to my driver from Pineapple Shuttle, Kevin. Thank you for making my ride so memorable. I appreciate it. All right, everybody. Have a great rest of your week, and we'll talk soon. Thanks so much for listening. I hope you found this episode either helpful, inspiring, entertaining, or just made you feel less alone. Or maybe all of those things. If so, I'd love it if you'd share this episode with a friend, as well as on your social media. And if I dare ask for more, to rate and review the podcast on your favorite platform, especially Apple Podcasts and Spotify. You see, the more reviews we have, the more people we can reach, and the bigger the Odd Life community can become. You guys are the best. I can't wait to chat again next week, so we'll see you then.